know that this system that we have in America is not really it's not a solid 100% where you can say, roll your dice on it and go, yeah, this is what it is. Now, everything in their culture is the same way. Their judicial system is not correct. Their uh their family court system is not correct. The way they do things is not correct. When they beat Christianity into the Africans, it made the Africans more submissive to the bullshit. Now, I'm not saying there's no Jesus. I said when they beat Christianity into you, it was a whole nother scenario. But they beat it into you because history tells us when Isabella, the Queen of Spain, said all the Muslims, the Moors, which was my great grandmother's set, they have to leave, and the Jews have to leave unless they convert to Christianity. When they didn't do that, she kicked them out and expelled them from. And then when she sent Ponce and Leon with Christopher Columbus to go do their exploring for 20% of the taking, right? Also, when she found out that the Africans weren't Christians, she said they can be slaves. But it was all because of religious scenario. It had nothing to do with nothing other than they weren't Christian. And if they wasn't Christian, she said they can be slaves. So we went into slavery. You know what I'm saying? But when they write these books about Africans and they say that the Africans couldn't read and they was uncivilized, this is not true. Because the Africans were speaking Arabic. And there was a whole bunch of slaves that wrote their autobiographies in Arabic as slaves. So, you gotta when you do the history and you start understanding the spin, when they can convince you that you're other than human, it takes place if you believe it.
It's
And
funny.
that's the whole.
It's funny you say that. I want to bring up on that a little bit of history that me and you have together. Your mom being from Barbados, being Bajan, my
Right.
father being
Yeah.
from Barbados, being Bajan. So we like
Right.
kinfolk because that's a very Barbados is very, it's a
Yeah.
very small island. Everyone there is,
Very small.
yeah, is kind of related to each other. So
Right.
when I go visit, I try to go there at least once a year. So they
Right.
one of the oldest Jew temples that they have in the United States is in Barbados. It was built,
Yeah, I know.
yes, it was built in the 1600s. And right next door to it, they have a museum. And in the museum, they show us our history of how we even got there. And that is like an amazing thing. So, they say that the people, and they have it printed on the walls, like our whole history. So the people that migrated to Barbados in the 11th century were running from the Queen Isabella thing that you just mentioned from Spain, and they were called Jews, and
Right.
they were supposed to be experts in sugar.
And sugar.
Yeah. So that like right there really breaks down a lot to tell you who's the Lord, Lord's tribe of Israel right there. That the people that
Very deep.
that the people right there, and yes, and Barbados, those was the actual people that was some of the people that was escaping that, and they went there.
That's funny you say that because my grandfather, great grandfather who married the Moor, was Jewish.
Hmm. Yes.
And he was in Barbados.
Yes. Wow, look at that.
Because his father, my great 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 grandfather, name was Levi.
Hmm.
And they was Jews.
Yeah.
And they married my great grandmother, who was a Moor Muslim. So that means, I'm not saying they was in Spain, but they had to know the same scenario because Barbados is very small.
Yeah, you could walk almost like Harlem, like, you know what I'm saying?
Like my mother would never let me get into it with my own. Like if I was having issues like with anybody, I would always have to take the high road. My mother never let me, especially if they look like me. I couldn't. I had to take the high road. I couldn't. I couldn't really, take it like that. She was like, "No, they're under this. But this is what happened. This is why they acting like that. Leave them alone. They don't understand." And I used to be like, I had to bite my tongue and move on. Let me keep it real. When I was with Death Row and I seen Suge and I seen how Suge was, I come to find out Suge's people are from Mississippi. Can you imagine the ideology that when he was instilled upon to embrace? Because he wasn't really like that.
Copy.
But remember, no, I'm just saying remember, but when you adapt the ideology, you are lesser than. It takes place. Once they're in your mind, they say, I'm this, it comes to life. That's why they say, be careful. This is what my dad told me. He said, be careful what you wish for and be careful how you talk about yourself because your subconscious doesn't know when you're playing. And I used to be like, oh, shit. And he's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because you think about it, right? Like that Spellbound style was such a intricate
Amazing.
piece of artwork. It got me in so much trouble. I lost a friendship with DMX over that. It's like he was so obsessed with Spellbound. And I used to be like, Earl, you sold 40 million records. Why are you still worried? They was obsessed with it still. And it was like, and now, love him, God bless him. We
Rest
both
in
made
peace to him.
ourselves somebody. Yeah, yeah. Love him. It wasn't nothing that. It was just he's trying to find his place. I understand. I was there too. I get it. But I can't take none of that to heart when I know what the oppressors did. They pit us all against each other. The light skin versus the dark skin, the old against the young, the tall against the little. They put everybody against each other so they don't come together. And it's still happening today. When you look and sometimes I step back and look at it and I go, whoa, it's really scary when you see how it does and how people can't join forces and hold it down. How they preaching this solo shit all the time. Like they're preaching this, all I need is me. And I'm like, no, to win a war, you need a whole bunch of you. To win a Super Bowl, you just can't have a quarterback. You need a coach, you need a running back, you need you need a safety, you need a whole bunch of shit. You need an offense and a defense. But they trick us into believing that ideology, and then we go to bed saying it, and then we live that shit, and it's failure. We just don't know it till the time runs out. That's how much they fear the creator and his people because the way they spun you, the way they spun it so viciously that the ones that can help are so blind and so off the set, they can never help, not even themselves.
And I want to mention one thing too. This is very good information for our people to understand because I think this is where our people drift off and they mix the two up. So you have a religion called Roman Christianity, but then you had a people who were Jews who were called Christians, first called Christians in the land of Antioch because they were
Yeah,
the disciples of Christ. That's
right.
where Christians exactly come from. The Roman Christianity came later when they was fighting a war with Constantine. And Constantine couldn't
Constantly.
over defeat the people, and he decided to take on the banner of a cross and now create and
A
and
world
take
religion. Yeah,
exactly. So it's two
yeah.
different things. And where this concerns us very much so is because it all goes to the Spanish Inquisition. So when
Yes, it
Queen
does.
Isabella, she had an army of Christians that fought for her, the knights. They were called the
Nice.
knights because they were actually Black. They were actually Jews. So they was called the knights. That had a lot to do with why their face was covered up. Now, these were the ones that were after the disciples and the war was going on over them. These was the ones that had migrated over into Spain and started living in Negro land. There's an area in Spain called Negro land, but it's actually named after the Negro land that comes from in Africa, which is basically meant the land of black people. And
Right.
they fought the Moors to help get the Moors out of Spain, and that's how they settled there and stayed there for some centuries. Fast forward, you had a saint by the saint name of Saint Maurice, and he was ordered to go into a land and get rid of all these people that was in the land, this land, and that he was told that they were savages, and that they were, people that, they needed to go out, go there, kill, expunge them, get rid of them. So when Saint Maurice and his Christian knights went to the land to get rid of the people, guess who the people was? The people was actually their own kinfolk. They were actually
Right.
the Jews that hadn't
Jews.
fell under the
Right.
Spain Roman Christianity. So when
Right.
he got there and he saw that, they sent back word to her that we can't kill these people. You know what I'm saying? Like
They were kindred to them.
exactly, they're kindred, and if anything, they done learned that they the real Christians. So she got upset and sent the army in, bigger than the army of the knights, and killed everyone. And then after she did that, she started the Spanish Inquisition, and she said she wanted all Jews out of Spain, which actually, from the Spanish Inquisition, is what created the slavery that we have here now in America.